Let's start off with two random words. How about thought and experiment? Two words that are quite different. Now let's put them together. A thought experiment? What's a thought experiment? Well, consider this. Zeno, a Greek philosopher from about 500 BC, presented this paradox. Suppose there's a race, a track star versus a tortoise. For obvious reasons, the tortoise will get a head start. In order for the runner to pass the tortoise, he first has to catch up to the tortoise. So he first runs to the spot where the tortoise is. However, in the time that it took him to get there, the tortoise has moved ahead. He has to yet again run to the spot where the tortoise is. But in the time that it took him to get there, the tortoise has moved ahead. It seems that the runner will never catch up to the tortoise because he has to continue to do this. Similarly, in order for the runner to get to the finish line, he has to first get halfway there. It's not a hard concept to understand. You have to get the first half done before you can start the second. But in order to finish the first half, you need to do the first half of that distance. In order to do that distance, you need to do the first half of that distance. In order to do the first half of that distance, you need to do the first half of that distance. At this rate, it seems the runner is going to get nowhere. He'll never finish the race. That probably confused you, but it gave you an idea that you likely have never thought of before. Now consider this. Lawrence Kohlberg presented this one. A woman has fallen very ill from a rare sickness. She was going to die in a matter of days. Nothing was known to cure her. Luckily, a scientist from nearby had discovered a drug that could cure this sickness. However, the scientist wanted $1 million for a dose of this drug. The woman's husband had nowhere near that much money and thought the scientist was being ridiculous for charging so much. Yet he wanted to save his wife's life, so the man broke into the scientist's lab and stole the drug so that he could save her. So arises the question, was the man justified in stealing the drug? Should he have done it? Which is more important, respect for the scientist's right to property and respect for the law which prohibits theft, or respect for the woman's right to live when there is certainly a way to save her? These are what thought experiments basically are. Thought experiments present you with things you may have never thought about and force you to explore all ideas in a given problem. Here's another one. As proposed by John Harris, what if society was set up with a survival lottery? Here's how it would work. In a situation where one person needs a lung transplant and another person needs a heart transplant, a compatible donor would be randomly found that could suit both of their needs. Then, the healthy organs from the donor would be used to save the two people in need. Through this plan, everyone's chances of living are increased. 2 lives are being saved at the loss of 1. Without this donor, 2 lives would be lost. But now with this plan, people would live in fear of being randomly selected to be a donor, which is just a polite way of saying be killed. So the question is it better to kill 1 to save 2, or is it better to let 2 die? But what about the donor's opinion? He did nothing wrong. He actually has healthy organs and everything in his body is working just fine. Why does he have to give up his life? A point to consider here is the value of a life. Are 2 lives really greater than 1? But the real thing to think about is the difference between letting die and killing. One is a passive action and occurs without any interference. The other, an active action, brings about death from intent. So is letting 2 die better than killing 1 person to save them? That's what John Harris wondered. Blame him if your mind is burnt to a crisp at this point. Because here comes another one. Derek Parfit, a British philosopher, gives us this one. Scientists have recently created a magical cubicle. You walk in, and you reappear in another cubicle which is located in a completely different building. Or is it really you that reappears? Here's how the teletransporter works. When you walk in the cubicle, a scanner reads the states of all the cells in your body, and then destroys them. Instantly, in the other cubicle, a replicator takes all of that information and exactly replicates the cells that had been destroyed. It will be your body recreated in a new location. The brain will function just like yours. It will have all of the memories that you have. But is it you? You can easily say that it is still you. It functions exactly like you did, so there never was a point in time when it stopped being you. Or what if you say it's not you? When you transferred over to the new location, why did you stop being yourself? Who did you become? But what if the teletransporter did not destroy the cells after it read them? In that case, you would have 2 identical people. However, they would only be identical for an instant, because as soon as they existed separately, they would be experiencing different things and no longer be identical. Think about it. You're influenced by the things around you. In order for both things to remain identical, they would have to experience the exact same things, but this is impossible, so it's hard to say who's who. This is what thought experiments do. Sometimes they confuse you like crazy. Most of the time, they force you to think. Many times, thought experiments explore the definitions of certain concepts, such as the moral guidelines on death or personal identity. But these experiments are not like scientific experiments. There's no concrete knowledge gained from them, and everyone thinks differently, so there won't even be a consensus on anything. Which is why, when it comes to thought experiments, lots of people wonder, what's the point?